All right, everyone. Welcome back to another account structuring with Frontside Consulting. And this time we have with us one of our other account managers, Calvin. And we are going to be looking at how we would set up a paid social account, particularly a Meta ads account for Madrock, which is a climbing brand. Calvin and I are both climbers, and so we just thought that this would be a fun potential account to look at and just kind of see how things might differ from brand to brand in terms of how we target users, look at creative, as well as potentially different goals we might be trying to drive to. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the website. So this is the Madrock website. And so it looks like, I mean, based on what I know about the brand, it's mostly like their key products are just climbing shoes. Isn't that correct, Calvin?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. And so I think,
And then the pads as well.
right. And they do have belay. I mean, this is kind of your traditional belay device, but this is kind of like their the equivalent of like a gree thing, right? I think.
Yeah, that's their version.
Yeah, which is it's similar to a belay device, but basically just how not to drop your partner when you're rope climbing, right? So I think they've got a couple of these products, but really this is about like their climbing shoes. You know, in terms of a product to sell, it's not perishable, but it wears out, and so you know you've got customer lifetime value. People are gonna buy more than one pair of climbing shoes if you're an avid climber. You know, there's different purposes. If I remember correctly, you know, your gym climbing shoe is going to be different than your like outdoor climbing shoe, or if you're a sport climber or trad climber and not a just super aggro bouldering guy, then you know you're going to want different things. It looks like this shoe is just really, really kind of aggressive. You can see it in, you know, the sole being curved like that. There's lots of things like this to think about when you're talking about your product segmentation, which is what comes to mind when I'm looking at sort of like their core products here. So your super hardcore climbing customer is going to be different than your more casual customer. So what comes to mind for me is, you know, and maybe we can kind of look at this from an AOV perspective. So your really expensive products, these are probably going to be targeted towards your more hardcore customer. And when I think of kind of the the stereotypical climber, you know, this is a person who loves Cliff Bars, loves living in a van. Let's see, probably drinks a lot of smoothies and hemp seeds, as opposed to your more kind of casual, like gym sport climber. In a lot of cases, you know, my experience with the more casual climber is, hey, this is someone with the day job. They're like a product manager at Amazon or something like that. Or someone who has like a suburban family parent that, you know, is going to drop their kids off at like the summer climbing camp, that sort of thing. And so we can kind of think of the product mix and the potential customers as being different. So, Calvin, do you have any thoughts on who the potential customer could be?
Yeah, I feel like for Madrock, it's a little bit more steered towards the gym climbers. The price point's a little bit lower. It's like lower barrier of entry because their top of the line products are like 150, and a lot of other shoe brands go up to 200 plus.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, I guess with that, we're sort of targeting like the value-oriented gym climber. Let's start thinking about how to segment their products. So I guess we're just going to make the assumption that the vast majority of their sales are coming around their shoes. So I think in terms of, let's see here, let's look over at, we have this new template now. So let's think about who the potential prospecting user would be. So let's see. These are some simple ones. You know, you can retarget or prospect based off of lookalikes on your email address or you're socially engaged. Looking over at their socials, 41,000 followers, that's pretty good. And you would definitely want to engage or engage lookalikes of those users. We've also got their Facebook page, 25,000 followers on Madrock Climbing on Facebook. Between the two, you've got what, 60, 70-ish thousand followers. That's a pretty robust social following count. So both worth retargeting if those users have engaged with social, as well as probably big enough audiences to have some good prospecting lookalike audiences built within the platform. So all of these are definitely worthwhile. In terms of interest, we could probably build something around. Calvin, what do you think your gym boulderer is really about?
The gym boulderer,
Well, I guess obviously bouldering.
bouldering, I'd say like maybe weightlifting to some degree.
Okay, that would be like an adjacent interest.
I guess with bouldering, maybe like calisthenics. And also, I mean, yeah, bouldering indoor and outdoor. So there's like those
Yep.
two types: indoor bouldering, outdoor bouldering.
Okay.
Then there's like the sport climbing.
And then let's add.
Yeah, trad climbing.
Oh,
Extreme sports too.
yeah, extreme sports. From what I know of the climbing community, most people that climb also have like a corresponding winter activity. A lot of them like to be backcountry skiers because you like ropes and stuff, or ski mountaineering. So it seems to be a similar interest. I think conversion, probably sales for all of these. And let's take a quick look back at the website. Trying to see if there's any other kind of things that we might want to track on the website or could be a potential goal. Let's see what this is about. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they've got clinics that they run. So it looks like they've got one. Oh, this is today. So this is boardroom, mastering movement. Okay. Oh, product demos. And then they do have a retail store. But let's focus on, I guess, you could run a campaign to get people to kind of engage with some of these events, which would be a little bit different than kind of your sales goal. So potentially it'd be kind of like a lead event sort of thing that you could do. What I would probably do is kind of run your kind of traditional campaigns to drive towards sales of the products, and then based on, I think it's safe to make an assumption that the user that engages well and from a sales perspective will probably also engage well from like an engagement perspective. So I would probably test out some of these audience and then duplicate the audience to that kind of lead goal to try to drive those highly engaged customers into the events. So a little bit different than some of the other ones that we've done because there's not typically kind of like this engagement play. So, pretty interesting. In terms of like retargeting campaigns, I think, looking at like website visitors, add to cart purchasers, socially engaged, we kind of mentioned already, that should definitely be part of it. But the other thing, past customers, maybe like reselling. So, one of the things that I saw on the site here, so if you've already sold them some shoes, potentially you sell them some other items, or maybe even cross-sell into other things like skincare and brushes and all that kind of thing. Having a gnarly flapper is not something that's fun, but kind of part of the game of being a climber. So yeah, it's kind of once you've got your customer, there's potentially other kind of cross-selling items that you could try to sell the customer once they've become part of your fold. Look back window. This would be dependent on how much site traffic they're getting. Don't have access to their analytics, so it's kind of hard to say. But for social engaged, 365-day look back is not a bad way to go. Website visitors, I would see something like 7, 14, and 30 is pretty common. Purchasers, I would imagine, I'd be a little bit lower volume. Maybe retarget just off of 30 days. So that's kind of how I'm looking at things. Let's see. In terms of, are we missing anything in terms of prospecting? Because this seems like, if we were starting a new account, that's plenty to go off of.
Yeah, I think this is a good foundation.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's go into like creative messaging here. So, we have kind of three main ad types that we want to see. So we want to see like at least a couple of each. Oop, s- Doing some public Excel. Or we like to see kind of static carousel and video ads. So, pretty interesting. In terms of like retargeting campaigns, I think, looking at like website visitors, add to cart purchasers, socially engaged, we kind of mentioned already. That should definitely be part of it. But the other thing, past customers, maybe like reselling. So, one of the things that I saw on the site here, if you've already sold them some shoes, potentially you sell them some other items, or maybe even cross sell into other things like skincare and brushes and all that kind of thing. Just having a gnarly flapper is not something that's fun, but kind of part of the game of being a climber. So yeah, it's kind of once you've got your customer, there's potentially other kind of cross-selling items that you could try to sell the customer once they've become part of your fold. Look back window. This would be dependent on how much site traffic they're getting. Don't have access to their analytics, so it's kind of hard to say. But for social engaged, 365-day look back is not a bad way to go. Website visitors, I would see something like 7, 14, and 30 is pretty common. Purchasers, I would imagine, I'd be a little bit lower volume. Maybe retarget just off of 30 days. So that's kind of how I'm looking at things. Any thoughts there, Calvin?
Yeah, purchasers could go even further, like I feel like 30, 60, 90, because there's a potential of their shoes wearing down, getting new shoes. There's those elements as well, the wear and tear of shoes. If they're climbing a
Yep,
lot, then the shoes might last 3 months.
true. Yep. Okay, yeah, I've never climbed that much personally, but I can see how you can do that. Let's see. In terms of, are we missing anything in terms of prospecting? Because this seems like, if we were starting a new account, that's plenty to go off of.
Yeah, I think this is a good foundation.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's go into like creative messaging here. So, we have kind of three main ad types that we want to see. So we want to see like at least a couple of each. Oop, uh, s- Doing some public Excel. Or we like to see kind of static carousel and video ads. Obviously climbing shoes. I think if we just sort of segmented the message based off of like the product grouping. So let's go back and look at the climbing shoes. Um, Calvin, what are the big differences between the products as far as who the user group is going to be, like the gym climber versus the outdoor climber? the trad guy or the sport climber versus the boulderer? Like, what do we know about climbing shoes as a product?
The level of aggression in the shoe, like how curved it is, will be for a lot harder climbs. You'll find that the more moderate ones that don't have much of an arch there are better for casual gym climbing. So you see like the blue one right there, the black one right there.
Yeah, so this remora, I think I've never seen that word before. Yeah, it's relatively flat compared to this, which is super hooky.
Those are especially for your really hard climbs. So when you're bouldering at like a higher level or doing a really hard sport route, you're gonna want these aggressive shoes.
Okay, so I think, is there like an intermediate? I mean, this is kind
Yeah, I think
of,
like about yeah the Rover red line is about a little bit more intermediate.
let's see. Oh yeah, because this one definitely has like a bit of arch, but like not nearly as much as the
And
drone.
that's good for like the casual, but still wants to climb a little bit harder
Yep.
than just because these flat ones are really good for beginners,
Yep.
a little bit more comfortable.
Okay, so it seems like we want to segment. I think our static ads, we could just target like shoes aggressive, shoes casual. In the carousel, you could almost do like all three categories in the carousel, right? So if
Mhm.
we did that, would be something I would want to test. And then we could go,
And this is for prospecting, correct?
yep, trying to think
Um,
if there's anything
I'm
else.
thinking probably like one ad for accessories like crash pads and whatnot.
Or let's see here. Let's see what else they have. Or just like what would you call that? Like self-care,
Yeah, I guess like shoe care or self care. I guess yeah.
uh chalk.
The only thing with those things is they're relatively low value, so advertising for them might not return very well.
Yep, yep. That's a great point. Because there's a cost to acquire the customer. Yeah, that's average order value is definitely something to be concerned about. Something that does bring to mind is, if this was my client, I would recommend them to come up, in order to sell those kind of low AOV items in a single transaction. Thinking in terms of like bumping up your AOV would be to have some kind of like packaged product. So if we were to retarget, say, a user who had purchased some shoes before, it would be really nice, I think, to come up with like, hey, there's like tape, chalk, skin shaper, maybe, yeah, some of this salve, just kind of as like a packaged product that's like, say, discounted a little bit. That way you can kind of bump up the AOV while still kind of moving some of these lower cost items. So, that would be something that I wouldn't be thinking about. So potentially kind of running that there. Okay, so let's see. The other thing, so we're pretty product focused here. I think on retargeting or in the videos, I think this would be a good place to maybe have some of their, let's see if they've got any reels. So they've definitely got this kind of hardcore aspirational content. He looks cold and this looks kind of gnarly. So this is definitely kind of more aspirational. So if we go back here, video, more kind of like the kind of hardcore climber. Let's see if they've got any kind of gym footage. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, so they've got this is in my experience, this is much more like the casual, like the vast majority of people that identify as climbers are probably gonna feel comfortable with this. At least in my time in climbing, 90% of it was in a gym, just because it's so much more accessible. So I would love to see something like that. So gym climbing or what would you say, like a casual? And honestly, that's probably, who's paying the bills as far as like the volume of customers. Maybe your hardcore customer, that buys 3 pairs of shoes a year, your, lifetime value on them is going to be higher, but the sheer volume of customers that you're going to get is likely pretty casual. So that's kind of what I'd like to see there. Let's see, maybe an accessories, kind of back at looking at which ads that we can build. So an accessories carousel, the different, I think video for this customer is going to be really good at showing off kind of more lifestyle-ish content, which we'll try to keep it focused towards a particular product. So for this like hardcore customer, I would probably point them towards content. Yeah, I don't know if they have a filter. Maybe what we would do is we'd filter it for OV, because there's some assumption that I think you can make the more expensive the shoe is, the more kind of core the customer is. Conversely, if we were able to, this is not filtered great, but these kind of lower priced items with the less aggressive sole arch, I think that would be good to kind of target towards less hardcore customers. So I think that's how we can go there. Let's kind of go into like the value propositions. Um, let's see, Calvin, you're a little bit more familiar with Madrock as a brand. What would you say are kind of like the reasons that you go with it, like a Madrock product rather than something else, a Black Diamond or La Sportiva or something like that?
They have a unique heel that no other shoe has. So
Oh,
that's a
okay,
very distinct value prop, I think. That's like the thing that separates them from a lot of other brands.
okay. And what does that unique heel design do?
It's like a little bit of a wedge so that you can heel hook holds a little bit more effectively.
Okay, so it's like performance
Yeah,
oriented is sort of okay,
performance oriented, yeah.
right. Okay. So I think that's a great message to kind of pair with this kind of aggressive shoe kind of creative message. Let's see. Anything else that comes to mind? Like, is it materials, construction, value?
The value, they're a lot cheaper than a lot of longer standing brands.
Okay.
So their top of the line is 150, 160, when a lot of other brands are go up to like $220.
Okay. Let's kind of take a look at their social and see if there's anything else.
The community is one big thing too. Um,
Okay.
they have a lot of events, a lot of clinics.
Yeah. So kind of like participating in a community.
Mm. And I think that's very important for the really serious climbers, but also casual climbers too.
Yeah. Okay. So here we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kind of static ads that we could run. Accessories, etc. Performance as a message. That can be kind of we can massage that per category. So I think with the high end aggressive shoes with the performance messaging, that'll pair well. But you can also kind of have something similar with a casual or even the accessories, like for the hard charging climber, you've got stuff to like keep you going. That's something that we could work into copy. Similarly, kind of with the video, accompanying copy that's similar to that. The lower cost, to your point, Calvin, even the highest end stuff is less expensive than the other brands. So I think that's worth messaging. Maybe actually even in the creative, having like the price in creative might be something that I would try. Whereas with other brands, it's just kind of focus on the product, but potentially maybe copy on creative to say like, hey, this price, if that's a big selling feature, we can try that. And then participation in the community, I think maybe that would run as more of a secondary message that you kind of include with the copy to keep things on brand while still being kind of conversion oriented with the other kind of value propositions. So we've got two kind of core messages plus a secondary message that you can kind of add in the copy. Um, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different potential ads that you'd build with 2 copy variations. So you're looking at 18 different ads that you could build and test. Depending on budget, I'd launch 3 to 6 of them at a time and then test against each other with the different copy variations. Let's see, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different potential interest audiences. Maybe we collapse those sport and trad into their own. Maybe some audience expansion in the future. You could target like parents with children for that kind of suburban customer, the more casual gym climbing customer. And then we've got, a handful of different like retargeting audiences. So this feels like a pretty robust campaign structure, with the potential to do more expansion into their events. I mean, you could even kind of go up the funnel and use some of their more aspirational content that's not super product focused, or they're more community focused into growing like their social follower count. If we drove traffic to page likes to get them up from 25K to, I don't know, 50, 100K, that would probably be beneficial. The opportunity to kind of resell or message from your organic following is always very valuable. Let's see. Yeah, 42,000 followers. This all seems like a very healthy brand from a social perspective. The content's really good. Yeah, I think with the right targeting, these guys will probably do really well. So yeah, if you enjoyed watching us do this and this was valuable to us, just go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, X or Twitter, and LinkedIn. So stay tuned for more content like this. Thanks.